then you can live more contently. So I'm already off on a tangent. Let's get back to what he has to say. Welcome back to another Deep Dive with Derek. I'm your host, Derek, but I want you to call me D-Rock because my friends call me D-Rock, and you are my friends. Welcome back to another reaction video. If you're new here, I'd like to personally welcome you to the channel. This is the channel where we take a look at videos, poetry, songs, interviews, other forms of art through the lens of meaning and valued living. So meaningful living, what does that mean? This is all the tools that we can use to design and live a meaningful life in line with our values. So we're talking about things like personal values and purpose, mindsets, narratives, resilience, and mindfulness. All the tools that we can use to appreciate the upside of life and learn from and get through the dark side of life as well. So if you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing. If you've been here before, welcome back. Certainly glad you could make it. If this is something that's interesting to you, give this a thumbs up. That's an indication to me that you want more of this, that this is something that's worth doing. So by popular demand, top fan, I Am Squatty, has, I hope you're watching, has recommended this video several times. Other people have recommended this video. We're taking a little break from the music today and checking out his video that he created. I'm imagining it's just him talking, but his 1 million subscribers defining success video. So without further ado, let's see what he has to say.
I want to keep this short and sweet because I wrote something that I want to share with you. But first of all, I just want to say how grateful I am. I've reached 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which is a huge milestone. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who supported my music over the years, whether you're newly on board or have been here for a while. I wanted to say thank you to the YouTube reaction community who have gotten behind my stuff in a big way and really helped me reach this goal. So thank you guys.
I don't think he's talking about me, but I am a small part of that.
Yeah, I wanted to read this passage that I wrote about success. It's too much for me to remember right now, so bear with me. But yeah, success to me means that I have a responsibility that transcends me.
Good. So what is success? He's going to tell us. He's going to go deeper into this. It looks like this is divided into chapters. This chapter is called Defining Success. And this is important and very, very much overlooked. What does success mean? Because if you don't think about this, if you haven't thought about this, I'm imagining if you're watching me react to this video that you've seen this video before, but that's not necessarily the case. In any case, if you haven't thought about this before, you are very moldable. You're very likely to do what you think you're supposed to do. You're very likely to take on the values of your society or your culture or your family or media, social media. What are you supposed to do? You'll be happy as soon as you get the big house, as soon as you get the promotion. You'll be happy as soon as you get the right clothes, as soon as you get the right tech gadgets. Defining for success, what does that mean to you? What does enough mean? There's a famous parable or story, anecdote really, that you've probably heard me say before if you followed me. But the author, totally blanking on his name, it'll come to me in a second. He wrote the book Catch-22. He was at a party hosted by a billionaire. He was there with his friend. And at one point, the billionaire starts coming down his little windy staircase, and his friend pokes him and says, "Hey, what do you think about this? That guy made yesterday more money than your book Catch-22 has made in its history, its entire lifetime." And he said, "That doesn't bother me at all. I've got something this billionaire will never have. The knowledge that I have enough." Because he defines success differently. If you're the billionaire type, and you put, we talk about this a lot in the Money Game series, especially Money Game 3. If you define success based on, like Jimmy in Money Game 3, what your dad tells you to do, or you're always defining success in terms of what will win dad's approval, insert dad's approval for whatever you want, society's approval, my grandma's approval, my spouse's approval, whatever. You're never going to find enough. That is a well that's never going to have any water in it. It's a dry well. How do you know what enough is? How do you define success? You can always change it, but there's a saying that says, the game's rigged if you win it and you're still unhappy. Because if you do these things that you think you're supposed to do, so-called extrinsic values, things that come from outside of you, it's never going to be enough. But if you have intrinsic values, intrinsic sources of meaning, then you can live more contently. So I'm already off on a tangent. Let's get back to what he has to say.
If I have a platform where people are paying attention, then I feel like it's my duty to make that count. It's far more important than my aspirations with music and what I could personally gain.
And so he's got a platform. He's been through some stuff. We've talked about this in nearly any song that even touches on resilience or tough times or the dark side of life, which is a lot of his stuff. And I take that and run with it. But when you're in it, when you're too close to the situation, it's hard to see. But when you get some space between yourself and the bad things that have happened, the traumas that have happened, the whatever, you can start to learn from that. And one way to turn those into a purpose is to take your pain and then help other people with that pain. This is the two ladies who had their children killed by a drunk driver. Awful. And they took that passion and they created Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, to help other people. So that's something that he's doing. And then it's you'll see this thread across cultures, across time, that if we do things only for ourselves, although that may feel good, a life of pleasure, a life of whatever, that can feel good in the short run, but it's short lasting and we'll never have enough. If we can do things in service of others, meaningful connections, that is a life well lived. If you can have somebody to share things with, friends, romantic relationships, good business partners, good colleagues, that is really that is a common theme threading across so many things, is other people. And if you can turn your purpose into helping other people, like Ren has and everybody's talking about, that is meaningful.
There's a saying that stuck with me recently, which was a rising tide lifts all ships. Somehow, by finding success for myself has meant that I can find success for the people around me, and that makes me feel very rich. I'm in a very strange position right now where I owe much of my success to the most destructive force in my life, which has been the turbulence of my physical and mental illness.
That's tough, and that's hard to, I'm imagining that's hard to say out loud. But there's always lessons to learn, especially if you come out the other end. There's always meaning. A phenomenal book, really old book, gosh, 70-year-old book maybe? I forget how old it is, but Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He recounts his time in 4 Nazi concentration camps and how he got through these concentration camps. And he says there's one thing that others can't take away from you, and that is your ability to interpret your situation. That will always be with you, even in the darkest times, as Ren has experienced and gotten through and fueled him.
The thing that has by far brought me the most pain has been a source of constant inspiration, which ironically led to creations which brought me the most joy. Creating art which means something to somebody else.
And before he gets going here, this comes from the book The Happiness Hypothesis by a guy named Jonathan Haidt. We as humans, we don't like to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. But it's only when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations that we learn from them and grow. Now, nobody's going to wish you had what happened to Ren happen to you. I wouldn't wish a horrible breakup or divorce on somebody. I wouldn't wish somebody to break their knee. You don't wish for those things. But even in those really bad situations, you can still learn and grow from them. Again, not when you're too close to the situation, but you can. What we're talking about in that book, The Happiness Hypothesis, is just embarrassing yourself. Put yourself out there more. Learn to become more comfortable with embarrassment, or what you used to consider embarrassment, because then you'll learn so much. And then you do have this bizarre feeling of, it was only because I was uncomfortable that I'm successful. So at the small level, you can put yourself in uncomfortable situations. The Stoics talk about this a lot. They'll do a week of poverty to remind them what it's like to not live in poverty, for example, or they'll live without a car. The ancient Stoics didn't do this, but modern Stoics will go without a car for a couple of weeks just to remind themselves that this is a luxury that I'm probably taking for granted. So they'll practice putting themselves in uncomfortable situations. And what you learn when you do that is it's never as bad as your mind thinks.
Me the most joy. Creating art which means something to somebody else and can potentially be a companion to somebody else in the dark justifies my own pain, and I desperately needed that to be justified. There are a lot of people alive today who live in the dark. It's a place that I'm very familiar with. In the peak of my health problems, I was severely underweight. All my meals had to be restricted and blended, and I was so tired that I couldn't participate in life. I couldn't socialize, I couldn't watch films, I couldn't read. My bones...
I like that, how he said that. Participate in life. I've never heard that before. I'm going to start using that one. You should too. Participate in life.
Participate in life. I couldn't socialize, I couldn't watch films, I couldn't read. My bones constantly hurt. Even standing in the shower was excruciating and exhausting. And this went on for years, with no answers. Nobody could have ever convinced me during that time that my pain and suffering would be a source for something good.
Correct, because you're too close to it. And that's why this came from, this was the main point that I picked up in depression, I think. Yeah. Which was, don't tell me it's going to be fine. Don't tell me this is going to be good for me. Don't tell me that I'll grow from this. Even if that's true. Even if that's true, even if you know for a fact that's true, you don't say that to somebody who's in the middle of it right now, because you can't tell me that. Break my leg and then you tell me, hey, you're going to grow back stronger, right? I get sick, I get the flu, I get COVID even, I get some kind of illness, and you say, hey, your immune system is going to be stronger. I'm happy that you're sick. Even if that's true, it's still not the right time to say it, because in the midst of it, your world is getting shaken, and you're struggling with a sense of coherence, making sense of why is this happening, and why is this happening now, and why is this happening to me? Don't sit over there and tell me that it's going to be fine. Let me figure that one out for myself. Once I look back, once I grow from it,
because it felt insidious.
In fact, gratitude is a magic trick to bring happiness. It helps you prevent taking your life for granted. Now, common ways people will be or introduce gratitude into their life is with a gratitude journal. Every day they'll write down 3 things for which they're grateful. I recommend 8 things. And the first ones are things that you'll be familiar with. But one, every day, I do this in the morning, but so you can do this whenever, but who's a person for whom you're grateful? Who's in your life right now that you're grateful is there? And if they were out of your life right now, you would feel sad. Try to pick a different person every day. Don't pick your spouse every single day. Don't pick your kid every single day, your parents every single day. Try to find a different person that you're grateful for. Right now, in this immediate moment, what are you grateful for? Right now, are you happy that it's cold outside and I'm in a warm place? That's me speaking from wintertime in Minnesota. In the recent past, what happened in the last 24 hours that you're grateful for? In the distant past, is there something way back that you're grateful for? Something that if it didn't happen, if that one person didn't help you out in that college class, if that one person didn't encourage you to go get that job or whatever, your life will be totally different. Something in the distant past that you can be grateful for. What's something bad that's happened? And this is what we're talking about here. What's something bad that's happened that you can be grateful for? And it doesn't need to be as extreme as this. I mean, there might be some extreme cases, but I almost got in that car crash. That taught me that I need to maybe drive a little more defensively. Something like that. It doesn't need to be, I was in the midst of this mental illness and that fueled my career. I mean, that you don't have to have these extreme things happen to find gratitude for them. And then the rest of them are kind of darker ones, like what's something that bad that almost happened? It didn't happen, but it could have. A near miss, so to speak. Or what's something that is in your life right now? This is called negative visualization. What's something in your life right now that if it went away, you would be sad? And then you can imagine what life would be like without it. and then snap back into it and say, well, at least it's here for me to appreciate. That could be material things, it could be jobs, it could be relationships. Anyway, so gratitude, super powerful. And as you start to do that, you will notice more things to be grateful for.
Nobody could have ever convinced me that something constructive can come from hurting every day. But I'm here to tell you that if you are hurting every day, don't be afraid. One thing I know to be a certain, to be a constant law of the universe, is that life is inconsistent. Life is beautiful and life is hideous.
Yeah, for sure. And when fear comes, try this on for size. See if this helps. You are not the problem. The problem is the problem. So try to eliminate language that says, I am scared, I am sad, I am depressed, I am anxious. Try to cut that stuff out and try to see that the problem is the problem. I'm feeling sad. There's anxiety here. The depression showed up. Fear is with me right now. You are not the problem. The problem is the problem. And when you can separate yourself from the problem, you can see that these problems want what's best for you. They might not know the whole story, but if you separate the problem, and even if you personify it, what does this fear look like? If this fear was a creature, how big would it be? What color would it be? What size would it be? And then you can have a conversation with it. Okay, the fear showed up. What are you trying to tell me? The sadness showed up. What are you here for? And you can take its advice and mix it with other advice that you have, but you don't have to be a victim to the fear when it shows up, because you are not the fear. The fear is the fear, and it's just showing up with your best interest in mind.
Life is kind and life is cruel. Dancing inside this dichotomy and inconsistency makes me know that you won't hurt forever, whether that comes from resolution of what you're going through or acceptance of where you are.
Love it. Because, and that gets back to Viktor Frankl too, can you accept, and this has a big component of mindfulness, can you accept what is? Because right now, it's always right now, and right now this is how it is. You can't change this right now. So if I'm in pain right now, right, no, real talk, my back really itches right now. And can I be with that? This is a silly example. There are other things. Right now, I'm feeling excruciating pain. Right now, I am really sad because of the loss of a relationship or whatever it happens to be. You can use that, but you have to accept it. Instead of pushing it away and wishing it otherwise, you're prolonging how long it will take. If I can accept, okay, right now I'm feeling sad. Right now the sadness is here. Here's what I can do going forward. And sometimes there's not much you can do going forward. Sometimes you should just cry. And if you do, you can control crying. Just give yourself permission to be as sad as possible for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Or be as angry as you want to. But control it and say, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to beat the shit out of this pillow. And just wail into your pillows. And just see what happens. But accepting what has happened it opens up the door for what can I do next? What's in my control to do next? I want to see what else he said, because I think I missed something.
This dichotomy and inconsistency makes me know that you won't hurt forever, whether that comes from resolution of what you're going through or acceptance of where you are. You won't hurt forever.
Yeah, and that gets back to at the end of High Ren, he talks about the dance and learning how to dance. That's acceptance. And if I remember it, that was my intro into Ren. And my take on that dance bit, I think, remains the same, which is, if I don't think that this pain should be here, if I don't think this half of me, this part of me should be here, if I don't think the dark side should be here, and I keep pushing it away, I'm going to be clumsy. I'm not going to know how to dance. But if I can accept that this is going to be here sometime, now all of a sudden I can learn to dance with the dark side of life, because there's always lessons in the dark side of life. And in fact, try this one on for size 2. Here's another technique you might try. And if you're religious, you can think of it as God. If you're not religious, you can think of it as life or the universe. But imagine everything that happens to you. Life wants you to be strong. Life wants you to grow. So if life is too easy, you can start to think like, okay, there's going to be a test coming up, a life test. And life will throw these tests at you all the time. Like a video game. You wouldn't play a video game that you just ran your guy from Mario from the left side to the right side to the castle. There's no turtles and mushrooms and whatever else in the way. You wouldn't play that video game. It's boring. There's always going to be challenges. And if you view that like life is giving you challenges, your job is to solve them and learn from them. It can change your relationship with problems.
You don't know yet whether or not your pain conceals gold. It definitely conceals wisdom, and it's definitely a catalyst for filling you with empathy. So stand strong, my friends, and don't let the darkness consume you, because once you know the dark and become intimate with it, you become very capable of wielding the light. You could be instrumental for changing this world for the better. There's nothing humble about shrinking or doubting yourself, because you are large. You can be ferocious, and you could be magnificent. For the medical industry, who too often let people fall through the cracks, it's your duty to do better.
Yeah, this is true. This is going to be a conversation about, or reminiscent of Sick Boy, I think. That's what I took from Sick Boy. And before I lose this thought, he might talk about this, but I've got kind of a love-hate relationship with that, because this is like statistics 101 if you've ever taken these math classes. There's type 1 and type 2 errors. So basically, you're never going to be right all the time. There's always going to be errors. So you get to choose, or you get to spin this dial, like, do I want to overdiagnose or do I want to underdiagnose? And so do I want to diagnose too many people all the time, even if they aren't sick? Or do I want to let people fall through the cracks? Because if I move that dial this way, so he's over here in his, he's saying too many people are falling through the cracks. Let's spin the dial. But it's a difficult calibration to see where do I spin that dial, because at that extreme now you're over-diagnosing people, and that's part of it too. Now we get into this world of pathology where every time there's something wrong with you, or that's not even true, there's nothing wrong with you. Every time you're feeling something uncomfortable, well, the industry will tell you there's something wrong with you, and they'll give you a medication for it, a Xanax or whatever, when I'm just scared. No, you're not scared. You've got ADHD. Or no, you're not. You've got anxiety disorder. Oh, no, you're depressed. Oh, you're this, you're that. And now we're over-prescribing things. We're over-diagnosing people with anxiety and fear, when really they're just, the fear showed up. Instead of teaching people how to handle their feelings, we're medicating those feelings, and we're telling them that there's something wrong with them. So that's also true. So people are falling through the cracks in some cases, and people are getting overdiagnosed on the other end. Over-pathologizing, under-pathologizing. This is a tough question to tackle, quite honestly. And there's always going to be somebody who was overdiagnosed with something, or diagnosed with something they don't have. There's always going to be people who didn't get the right diagnosis, and one of those people was Ren. But you're never going to have a perfect system where nobody gets the wrong diagnosis. So anyway, all that is to say is that it's a trickier question than it seems like it is.
For the people living in the light, who have either stepped out of their shadow or have never had to walk beside it, it's your responsibility to put out untainted love. Our own greed, desire to ferociously expand, and decisions rooted in self-interest can benefit ourselves in a material sense, but can be very destructive to the hive and the world around us, ultimately hurting ourselves. So we really must consider that if we're going to step into a bright future. As humans, we have an incredible potential, and it would be a shame to throw it away. So community, humanity, and changing our relationship with the natural world so it leans more towards homeostasis must be a priority.
It sounds like this whole... I haven't listened to the entire album yet, but... Sick Boy? Yeah, Sick Boy. It's a lot of what he's talking about turned into, he took a couple of these sentences, turned it into a whole song. And he took a couple of those sentences and turned that into a whole song. And he took these sentences, turned that into a whole song, and he strung those together into a whole album. So it sounds like this is a 5-minute presentation on his newest album.
Priority number one. If you're watching this and there's a knot tied up in your stomach with bitterness, anger, or hatred for your fellow human being, be with it. Feel it.
I think, and he says it, that's that acceptance piece and not pushing it away. And that bitterness, the bitterness is here. Again, separate yourself from the problem. There's bitterness here. There's anger here. There's tension here. Okay, what does that feel like? Because like everything else in life, the intensity will come in and then it will pass. But if we try to push it away, it stays here. It's trying to go through its natural wave, and we're pushing it away, and it can't get through, so it never gets its chance to go away.
Understand it, express it, and then let it go.
Correct. And as you externalize these problems, you can ask it questions like, what are you here to tell me? But you can also ask it questions like, okay, the bitterness is here. The anger is here. When are you most likely to show up? What are you trying to tell me? When are you least likely to show up? When am I most vulnerable to your strings? The anger is working me like a puppet. When am I most vulnerable to you? Why do you show up when you show up? And you can get a lot of insight and information into your feelings when you think through it that way.
You're hurting. Give yourself love. Forgive yourself, and then project that love outwards, and the anger will pass. We have a decision in every interaction to tilt the world towards heaven or hell, towards Jannah or Jahannam, utopia or dystopia, and some people's ideas of heaven will be another's image of hell. So tread carefully, but treat those differences with respect. Tapestries are made beautiful because of the variety and the sum of their parts. Thank you to 1 million people inside this rich tapestry for the opportunity for me to try and spread my own vision of what I believe to be good. And thank you for justifying my pain. Thank you. I love you.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that the grounding, the humbleness, the gratitude, the thankfulness, all of it. And he distilled so much wisdom into just a 5-minute clip that you could probably learn. Maybe you have listened to that for 20 times, 50 times, and get something new from it. And then hopefully I can help give you different ways to think about that too. But I want to hear from you. How did you take this interview? What was your main takeaway? And has it helped you? Let me know how it's helped you. If this is something you like, give me a thumbs up. Let me know this is something you like more of. Recommend other interviews, songs, artists, recommend all of it. Let me know. And I'm going to continue down my Ren journey as many of you have. So thank you. Hey, D-Rock again. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing here. If this kind of thing is interesting to you, and especially if you like the bad drawings at the beginning, you might be interested in my weekly newsletter. It explores money's role in a meaningful life. So you can check that out at meaning.blog if you want. It takes this and it goes a lot deeper. So if you like that, check it out. Let me know what else I should be doing, what else I could be doing, and I'll see you here next time.